Someone in the comments had asked what my favorite Rifts faction is, and I gave them a brief answer, but in reality, that's kind of a hard question to answer. Favorite faction for what? There's a ton of different things that qualify as factions in the Rift setting, and all of them, have different purposes for their use. From a player point of view, from a game master point of view, you might have different answers. Uh, I'm from black market organizations. I'm fond of El Oculta, of the various coalition states. I would probably say Free Quebec. I'm fond of the Splugorth, Naruni Enterprises. If given a choice between the different techno states in old Europe, I'd probably side with the Sovietsky, or in England, stick with Camelot, despite the people behind Camelot, and so on and so forth. In Japan, I'm probably a bit more on the side of the techno republics than I am with the traditionalist empire. It all depends on what it is you're looking for that faction to do. But for player characters, I'll stick with the Lemurians as an answer. They're, with the exception of Maui Tiki Tiki and his Mauiing order, they are arguably the most heroic of the various factions presented in the Rift setting. And this book right here is a good book to get hold of. If you are a game master and you're looking to start a Rifts game and your players are not familiar with Rifts, Lemurians are a great faction of sorts to have your players start as. The nature of their history means that you don't have to explain the entire backstory of the Rift setting to your players. They can discover it as they go because they can be Lemurians exploring the setting. They're a 10,000-year-old ancient civilization from the days of Atlantis, when it was basically the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, and the Nazca were like the main magic-wielding civilizations 10,000 years ago. Atlantis has its little accident and disappears, and in the ensuing cataclysm, the death of magic on Earth for the ensuing 10 millennia that followed, the Lemurian floating city of Mu and their whole civilization gets sucked through a rift into a dimension that's basically just like an abyssal ocean, like infinite void of liquid. And from there you get the entity known as the Lord of the Deep. And they're kind of there in this quasi-timeless zone for the entirety of that 10,000-year span until Atlantis returns at the beginning of the, Chaos Earth Dark Ages period. They've been laying a little bit low since their return to Earth, just kind of trying to reestablish themselves, making a few allies out at sea. But at this point in the setting, they're starting to stretch their legs a little bit and make their presence more known and felt, which is handy considering that in the timeline, if you're going with real rifts and not savage rifts, you have things like the Minion War on the horizon and all that kind of stuff, to which the Lemurians are naturally suited combatants in. Their genetic engineering abilities, their biotech, their command of magic and stone magic and all that kind of stuff makes them actually rather well equipped to be dropped into the Rift setting and not feel like they're too much at risk of being pasted too fast. They're designed to hold their own in the setting, and they have the reach and interest to be able to basically allow you as a game master to have your players go anywhere in the setting. You don't have to feel quite so landlocked to one region, and they have reasoning for people to be sent places. You want to have a game where the characters learn about North America? Well, then they're just Lemurians who've been dispatched to go explore North America, South America, Europe, England, Africa, Asia, Australia. All qualifies for the same kind of thing. They're getting to a point where they can sense there's bad mojo in the wind, and they're finally ready to make a stand as one of the hero groups that have charged themselves with the protection of the Earth. They're much less corrupt than the Atlanteans, albeit they don't blend in with regular humanity as easily as the Atlanteans do. As I said, really, aside from this whole, there's this little evil faction inside of them led by a dude named Maui Tiki Tiki, there's really not a whole lot about them that's nefarious. Arguably, they're cleaner than even the Cyber Knights. And so that's why, at least from a point of view of, what's a good faction for your player characters to be a part of, That's why I say Lemurians, and that's why I say you should consider checking out the Lemurian book, despite the fact of how late in the cycle of world books it came out. Lemurians had been referenced since the early days, since Rift Underseas, as being something that's out there. It wasn't until like Rift's World Book 31 or 32, I want to say, that the Lemurians finally had their premiere. And they need more love and more attention, because, like I said, they're a great vessel for players who are not familiar with the Rift setting, and that you don't want to have to go through that uphill battle of trying to either describe it all to them yourself through exposition, or the kind of selective read these few pages and then ignore all these pages and then read these few pages out of this book so you can understand what's going on. You can basically present the Rift setting to them tabula rasa for them to discover and explore and learn about as they play, as opposed to needing to know a whole novel's worth of information going in, which if you're a game master looking to run Rifts, one of the things that's intimidating about Rifts is trying to convey all the information about Rifts to new players. Lemurians massively oversimplify that, and so check them out. And so, like I said, that's my answer for favorite faction, at least on those grounds. Until next time, stay waspinated.